Hari Om. Welcome to yet another class of Abhijnana Sakuntalam in the Ola Sanskrit Sahitya Rasaswada series. So we are reading just the first act only, we haven't yet completed that. And last time we saw, last Sunday, that Dushyanta has made an entry. Kah paurave vasumatim shasati shasitari durvinitanam ayam acharati avinayam Mugdhasu tapasvi kanyasu. So Mugdhasu tapasvi kanyasu highlights the avinaya, the rudeness, and it is a very grave, like a sort of offense that the bee is doing. It is Mugdha, the innocent, and tapasvi kanya, not the city bred urbanized girls. So tapasvi kanyasu, and paurave vasumatim shasati. So that gives very high pride in his mind of his own kula. Sarvaha rajanam drishtva kinchidiva sambhrantaha. And then it is first, which Anasuya is a little bit composed. She gains her, what you can say, consciousness and courage to speak, and then says, Arya, na khalu kimapi atyahitam. Nothing so serious and all that you should come, who dares to do this avinaya when Paurava Dushyanta is ruling and all that. Iyam nau priyasakhi madhukarena abhibhuyamana katari bhuta, and Shakuntalam darshayati. And then he asks apitapo vardhate, a usual, what you can say, courteous inquiry about the hermit people. Shakuntala sadvasad avachana tishtati. Now sadvas, the dictionary meaning, the lexical meaning would give it as bhaya. But it is not bhaya here, it is a bit nervousness. Unexpectedly, this person has come from nowhere. They didn't expect anybody to come there, right? And therefore she is a bit nervous. And some people carry with them, they have a very good bearing. Wherever they go, they become influential people. They make an impact over all the people wherever they go. So the very akriti vishesha, the very physic, the way the person carries himself, the way the person talks, that all becomes very, very impactful and influential. And therefore, I'll just this. And therefore she says sadvasad avachana tishtati, and therefore avachana, she is speechless for the time being. And then Anasuya gets the courage to speak first and says, Idanim atithi vishesha labhena. Now this is in a way an answer to apitapo vardhate. Apitapo vardhate, though it is addressed to Shakuntala, he means to ask this question to everybody around, right? All these three girls. And therefore this is tapaha vardhate. Are the austerities going on? So there is no harm there is no impediment, everything going on very smoothly. Then she says immediately, Idanim, now tapaha is going on, but Idanim we are very much benefited because of atithi vishesha labhena, because we got a very distinguished guest today. So that is something very fortunate on our part. Hala Shakuntale gachautajam phalamishram argham upahara idam padodakam bhavishyati. Padodaka is already there, and phalamishram argham, argha is ashtavidha, we saw last time. And then Raja doesn't want, obviously, Shakuntala to go away from his side, and therefore he says, he can't stop her all of a sudden, right? No, why are you going? Sit here or stand here. And therefore he makes it an indirect comment, which will stop Shakuntala from going away from him. And he says, Bhavatinam sundritaya eva gira kritam atityam. My atithya is already done, and therefore no need to go and bring. So enough of the formality. What we say? Enough of formality. I don't need any formality. Then Priyam Vada is the next to speak up. Shakuntala has not uttered a single word. Okay, it was first Anasuya and now Priyamvada who says, Tenahi asyam prachaya shitalayam saptaparana vedikayam muhurtam upavishya parishrama vinodam karotu aryaha. So Arya is a noble person. You can remove your fatigue, divert yourself. Vinoda also we saw last time. And then he wants them also to sit with him, and he can't just order them because they are tapasvi kanya, though he is a Raja. He is not appearing there as a Raja, right? And therefore he says, Yuyamapi anena karmana parishrantaha. So you are also fatigued. So why don't you also sit down for a while? And then Anasuya says, yes, hala Shakuntale, uchitam naha pariyupasanam atithinam. Betting upon the guest is our first primary duty. So we should listen to what he says. Atra upavishamaha sarva upavishanti. And then we were thinking, how are the reactions after seeing Dushyanta enter all of a sudden from nowhere? How all these three girls react in their own way. For Shakuntala, kinnu khalu imam preksha, kim, nu, khalu. Every avyaya is so very meaningful. So the meaning, the vikara which comes in her mind, she is really not very comfortable with that, because this is something contrary, contradictory, anti-ashrama vikara, okay? And it is tapovana virodhi vikara, basically nirvikaratmake chitte bhavaha prathama vikriya. Anything emerging in the mind which has never entertained any vikaras, so any feeling which emerges, bhavaha, bhu bhavati, is to become, something coming up. So some thought, some feeling emerging in the mind, in the chitta, in the minds of those who are nirvikara for all the time, that is vikriya. That is the vikara. And therefore, tapovana virodhi vikara. Why this vikara? Vikriya. This is not a prakriti, this is a vikriti. Her prakriti is, abiding in the tapa and abiding in all these normal routine of the ashrama. Anything away from that, transgressing the limits of that, is vikara, is a vikriti. So tapovana virodhino vikarasya gamaniyasmi samvritta, but it is appearing for certain. Khalu, avadharanarthe, emphasis. Nu vitarka, and kim, kutsa. How of all the things it is arising in my mind, who am nurtured in this atmosphere and who was never exposed to such type of feelings so far, how it has come up in my mind. Raja sarvaha vilokya aho samavayo rupa ramaniyam bhavatinam sauhardam. Your good-heartedness, suhrid, but sauhrida, surud means a friend, sauhardam, friendship. Your friendship, all three of you, gel so well with each other. It is really very charming to see you, in this form, because you are all of the same age. Samavaya, rupa, and therefore it is all ramaniya, charming. Priyambada janantikam, she says, Anasuye konu khalu eshaha, again in the above sentence of Shakuntala, kinnu khalu, here konu khalu, who indeed is this person, konu khalu eshaha, who is chatura gambhira akritihi, madhuram priyam alapan, and prabhavavan iva lakshate. He looks as if he is a very, very important, influential person, some officer, some executive, very influential person, prabhavavan. And how is he? He chatura. Chatura, he seems so lively. Chatura is really nishnata, chatura is pravina, wise, intelligent. Chaturaha Shrugalaha, you have some stories in Panchatantra and Hitopadesha. Chaturaha Kakaha, the kaka who drinks that water, putting the pebbles in the jar, right? Chaturaha Kaka. So Chatura is clever. But here, what is clever about him? He seems so vibrant, so lively, so bubbling. The very akriti, chatura, though it is Gambhira because, being a king, he has developed that sort of maturity and serenity. So wherever he goes, he carries his serenity and that Gambhirya with him, that Dhairya, which behoves a king. And therefore, but still he is Chatura. Though Gambhira, Chaturaha Sannapi Gambhiraha or Gambhiraha Sannapi Chaturaha. So that is his Akriti, his Ingita, his Akara. Secondly, that is about his physical appearance. Now when he talks, Madhuram Priyam. Madhuram, he has a soft voice and he is speaking to Tapasvi, Mugdha, Tapasvi Kanya, therefore still more softer. And Priyam, like he is telling them, Bhavatinam Sundritaya Giraeva Kritamatithyam, etc. So these are the pleasing words for any girls, right? Why do you need any formality for that? Why don't you be, because your speech itself is doing, has rendered hospitality to me. So this is Priyam and Madhuram. Alapan, he is speaking very, pleasing words and very covetable words, which we like to hear. And therefore, Prabhavavan iva lakshate. So what she, she has in her mind, the first impression of Dushyanta is more based on his physique, his rupa and his vacha. Okay, so it is more of an outward, what you can say, expression, outward impression of the person which she expresses as Chatura Gambhira Akritihi Priyam Madhuram Cha Alapan Prabhavavan Iva Lakshate. Because Priyambada is a sort of girl, who would be like very bubbling, very enthusiastic and little more extrovert, opposite to Anasuya. Okay, and she tells this to Anasuya in her ear, Janantikam or Appavarya. These are the stage directions. Dushyanta sitting next there is not supposed to listen, but all others, we in the Prekshagara auditorium, we will listen to this dialogue. Then Anasuya also says, Sakhi mamapi asti kautuhalam. Even I am so curious who he is to know that. Astu prakshamitavadenam, I will ask. Now who will do the asking part? Neither Priyambada nor Shakuntala, it is Anasuya. Anasuya will do, who are you, from where have you come, why have you come here? So these are the three main questions. Okay, which family you belong to, that is who are you, from where have you come and why in this Tapovana. This is not a sightseeing place, this is not on the tourist list that anybody would come, for touring and sightseeing. So why? So these are the three questions she asked, but in a very well-mannered, artificially sounding, structured sentences, She says, Prakasham, Aryasya madhura alapa janitaha visrambhaha mam mantrayate. Visrambha, confidence. The confidence which I got from what? Aryasya madhura alapa janitaha. Born of janita, born of alapa, the speech of your highness or yourself, your good self. And how is that speech? Madhura. So you are speaking so sweetly, and therefore I gained little confidence, and therefore this obliges me to ask you, Katamaha Aryena Rajarshehe Vanshaha Alankriyate? Rajarshehe Katamaha Vanshaha Aryena Alankriyate. It's a passive construction. That means which Rajarshi Vansha you adorn. That means you are born in which Kula. That is a simple way. You are born in which Kula, that is who are you? Introduce yourself. Katamaha Rajarshehe Vanshaha Aryena Alankriyate. So that is one. The second is Katamova Viraha Paryutsuka Janaha Kritaha Deshaha. which region you have made viraha pariyutsuka. When you came here, from which part of the country, which part of the region you came, so that the people there will be waiting eagerly for your return. Because you have come away, because of your separation, the jana, the people of that region must be pariyutsuka, must be eagerly waiting for your return back. So which is that Pradesha, which is that Desha, the people in which are eagerly waiting for your return after this separation. That means you must have come far from your Desha. So where from have you come? So this is the simple sentence. Who you belong to, which kula you belong to, from where have you come? Okay, that is the second question. And the third she asks is, Katam kin nimittam va? What is the purpose? What is the objective of your coming here? And that too she asks in a very artificial manner. She asks, Sukumara tarahapi tapovana gamana parishramasya atma padam upanitaha. Normally I said, like tapovana virodhino vikarasya gamani yasmi samvrutta. Such type of complex syntactical sentences, normally Kalidasa doesn't write. But here, because all these girls are well trained. They have studied the Sahitya, they have studied the Shastras, etc. So this is the bookish knowledge, the bookish expressions. They are not exposed to speak to the city people or the urbanized people, because they have always been staying in the ashrama. Very hardly, they would interact with the people outside the ashrama. And therefore they must be feeling, especially Anasuya, when you are asking somebody who is very prabhavavan, you can't ask him, straightway, oh, who are you, from where have you come and why have you come here? So that has to be garbed in a ornamental language, right? And therefore she says, Sukumara tarahapi, your body, though it is prabhavavan, gambhira kritihi, still it is not used to trade and, walk on these uneven grounds of ashrama. For that your body is too gentle, too delicate. Sukumara taraha. Tara is a comparative degree. Sukumara, Sukumara tara, Sukumara tama. Okay? Sukumara tarahapi atma tapovana gamana parishramasya padamupanitaha. Why yourself, you obliged yourself, or you made yourself, though delicate, come here and exert parishrama to this tapovana, because tapovana is not a place where you go for go to a resort and just have good time there. It's not like that. It's not a flowery bed. It's a thorny bed. It's uneven terrain, and therefore tapovana gamana is parishrama for people like you. And still you have come here. So what made you come here? So what is the nimitta? Why have you come here? So this type of questioning is called pariyayokta. Asking in a roundabout manner, not a straight manner. Who are you? From here have you come? And what is the purpose of your coming? It's not like that, right? And therefore pariyayokta, indirectly, in an implied manner, she is asking these questions. But nonetheless, what Priyambada said, she agrees, and she says, Mamapyasti kautuhalam. I am also curious to know, who is this person who looks so smart and so charming, and why has he come here, and who really he is. Now Shakuntala, her heart is thumping, and she is waiting for the king to answer. And these are the questions which are arising in her mind as well. Atmagatam hridaya ma uttamya. Don't be impatient. Oh my heart, oh my mind, don't get so impatient. Esha, that is Anasuya, Tvaya Chintitani Mantrayate. Esha Anasuya, this Anasuya is talking, is thinking in the terms which you are thinking of. Tvaya Chintitani Mantrayate. Now Raja also thinks for himself, Atmagatam, Katham idanim Atmanam Nivedayami. How should I present myself? Atmanam Nivedaya. Atmanam, ni plus vida, to present yourself, to introduce yourself. How should I introduce myself? Bhavati. Bhavati is the address, when a person who is other's wife, like Parapatni, normally it is said, Parapatni, and what? There is one more thing, who is not your Yonija, or not your real sister. To address such a lady, you have to use Bhavati. Okay? So there is some Manusmriti rule for this. I think somewhere they have given a Manusmriti rule. I just quoted. Parapatni tu ya stri syat asambadha chayonitaha. So that means you don't belong to the same mother's womb. You haven't come out from the same mother's womb. Ya asambadha cha yonitaha and parapatni cha ya tam bruyad bhavati ityevam subhage bhagini iti cha. You can address them as Bhavati, Subhage or Bhagini. This is from Manusmriti, 2nd chapter. Okay. So this is how he addresses them. Bhavati, Yaha Pauravena Radnya Dharmadhikare Niyuktaha Saha Aham Avigna Kriyopadambhaya. Kathamidanim Atmanam Vinivedayami Bhavati Katham va Atma Apaharam Karumi. How should I conceal myself? I mean, he doesn't want to portray himself as the king. Otherwise it will happen. No. They said Dushyanta Makranda Raja Rakshitavyani Nama Tapovanani, and Dushyanta makes an entry. So that will reveal that he is a Raja, and therefore he should not reveal his own Rajatva. Katham Atmapaharam Karomi. How should I conceal my Rajatva, and still how would I introduce myself? Bhavatu evam tavad enam vakshe. So he is thinking to himself, and then Prakasham, he says, Bhavati yah pauravena radnya dharmadhikare niyuktaha saha aham avigna kriyopalambhaya dharmaranyam idam ayataha. I have come here to this dharmaranya. Saha aham. Idam dharmaranyam ayataha agataha. I have come here. Ya is to go, a plus ya is to come. Ayataha agataha. For what? Avigna kriya upalambhaya. To gain the knowledge that all your kriyas are going on smoothly without any hindrances, without any impediments. Okay? Avigna kriya. Upalambha, to know that, to gain that knowledge, dharmaranyam idam agataha. Now I have been appointed, niyuktaha. By whom? Radnya, by king. Who is the king? Pauravena Radnya, by the descendant of the Puru dynasty. Okay? Pauravena Radnya, niyuktaha, for what? Dharmadhikare. In dharma. Now this Pauravena Radnya and Dharmadhikara have two meanings each. See now the dilemma of Dushyanta is, he wants to introduce himself in a very gentlemanly manner. At the same time he wants to conceal his Rajatva, but he doesn't want to make a lie, make untrue statement, He has to be true. He will speak the truth. Satyam vada, dharmanchara. These are the things which the Kshatriyas are also trained into, especially during their convocation degree, when they come from the Gurukulas. And therefore Satyam vada, he will not deviate from Satya, but at the same time he wants to conceal his Rajatva. So he is caught in a dilemma. Now he uses such words which having two meanings. One meaning is for Anasuya and the girls, and the other meaning to satisfy himself that he has not told any lie to them. So what are these meanings? Pauravena Radnya. So Pauravena Radnya could be the king in the Puru dynasty. It could mean his father. Okay, his father. Pauravena Radnya aham niyuktaha. His father. That means my father has appointed me. In what? Dharma adhikare. Dharma adhikara. Adhikara, the duty of Raja Dharma, the duty of a king. So my father has appointed me to do the Raj part, Raja Karabhara, okay, as a king. And therefore, I have been appointed by my father in doing dharma, that is Raja Dharma, towards my subjects. So this is the part which satisfies his own mind that he has not spoken a lie. Okay, and the other meaning of that is, what is that? Pauravena Radnya Niyuktaha. This Pauravena Paurava Raja is Dushyanta himself. I have been appointed by the king Dushyanta, who is ruling now, for what? Dharma adhikare, with an adhikara, with an authority to take care of dharmika kriya, the religious activities which are going on in the ashrama. So I am an officer appointed by King Dushyanta to take care of all the activities in the ashrama, and therefore I have come to ascertain whether all the kriyas are going on without any trouble to you. Avigna kriya upalambhaya dharmaranyam idam aham agataha. Is that clear? So he also introduces himself. This is a very fine way of introducing. He neither speaks a lie nor reveals the entire truth. It is like Narova Kunjarova, right? Neither a lie nor the complete truth. It is a half truth. So, Shakuntala Shrungara Lajjam Rupayati. Shrungara Lajjam Rupayati. Now this is, what are the Lajja Bhava of Shrungara Kriya? Of all the rasas, there would be some bhavas, some gesticulations, some physical, or the apanga, the hand movements or your eye movements, downcast eyes and a little smile, blushing on the cheek, a little pinkishness on the cheek. All these are the Shringara Cheshta. There will be lot of description in Rati Manjari and other texts about the Shringara Cheshta. So normally it is said, Hava Bhava. In Marathi also we say, त्याचे हावभाव फार सुंदर आहेत. Hava and Bhava. Bhava we saw is any vikara coming in the nirvikalpake chitte. Bhavaha, something which emerges, that is the Prathama Bhava, which is the Prathama Vikara. And Hava is Bhavadihi Ishat Prakashaha Yaha. Whatever Bhava emerges in your mind, the outward expression of that is called Hava. So if there is anger emerging, then you will be like, your eyebrows will get raised and your teeth, you will clench your teeth. So these are the physical expressions. If it is hasya, the cheeks will get broadened and there is a smiley, right? So for every bhava, there is ishat prakasha, a little manifestation of that in your body. So the bodily expressions, okay, so that is called hava. And these are the havas, hava, hela, there will be some other thing as hela coming next time. So, Shrungara Lajjam Rupayati, Rupayati, she enacts, she gesticulates as if, she is overwhelmed by the feeling, the sentiment of love. Now this was something, she is first impressed by the personality. Dushyanta, being a king, has a very, very impressive personality. Plus, he is a Dhirodatta king, and therefore that Udattatva, that Gambhirya and Dhairya he carries with himself. That is also making more impact on her. Plus his Madhura, Priya, Alapana, Sunte raho, sunna chahiye. They feel like he should speak and we should listen. All sweet words. Who won't appreciate listening to sweet words about themselves? Bhavati naam sundrataya eva gira, etc. And therefore she is all, admiration and appreciation for Dushyanta. Little by one step by step, the Shrungara is coming in her mind, rising in her mind. So Shrungara lajjam rupayati. Now these two Sakhis, they have already caught hold of some admiration in Dushyanta's eyes for Shakuntala when he talked to her, apitapo vardate, the gentleness with which he might have spoken, his gesticulation, whatever. So it all depends upon the acting of the Nata. So now these two Sakhis, they see how Dushyanta is behaving and how Shakuntala is, gesticulating the love arising in her mind. And Ubhayoho akaram viditva. Akara is not just the bodily akara. Akara is ingita, what is suggested, indicated by their body. So that's why I said these are the havas, that is the expressions, the bodily expressions. Maybe she has downcast her eyes and she is eagerly waiting, her heart is thumping, her cheeks are blushing, whatever, little smile on the corner of her lips, all these things, and the apanga, she may be looking at him, what he will say now, like that. So Shrungara lajjam rupayati ubhayoho akaram viditva janantikam. They speak to themselves, they speak to Shakuntala, so that Dushyanta doesn't listen to that. Hala Shakuntale. Yadi atra adya, yadi adya atra. If today, here, adya today, atra here, tataha sannihitaha bhavet. If at all, Tata Kashyapa was present here today, because everybody knows he has gone out to Prabhasa Pattana. Okay? Shakuntala says, Tatah kim bhavet? What will happen then? If Tata was here, what would have taken place? What would have happened? Imam jivita sarvasvena api atithi vishesham kritartham karishyati. He would have done this Vishesha Atithi Kritartha. Vishesha Atithi. Vishesha, we here, Visheshena Shishyate Asau Iti Visheshaha. Vishesha is special. That which remains when everything else is left. When other people have gone, still somebody is there. He is Vishesha. Visheshena Shishyate. Remains. Shesha is what that is remaining. Tasmat shesham na rakshayet. Okay. So Shesha is remaining. So one who remains, especially even after everybody has left. So Vishesha Atithi stays with you when everybody else has left, because he needs to be given special dinner and this and that. So Vishesha Atithi always accompanies the organizers, right? So that is what Vishesha Atithi is. He stays even if everybody else leaves. So Vishesha, Atithi Vishesham is Vishesha Atithim, Kritartham Karishyati. He would have made him, so satisfied. Kritaha arthaha yasya or yena saha kritarthaha. By what he would have pacified him or satisfied him, Tata Kashyapa? Jivita sarvasvena api. By offering him his entire life, the all in his life, he would have offered and made him fully satisfied. Now what is all in all for Tata Kashyapa? She is Shakuntala. It is like the second breath of Tata Kashyapa, and we have seen earlier when the two hermit boys tell Dushyanta that she is Kulapatehe Uchvasitam. She is as if the breath, the outcoming breath of Kulapati, and Tam Imam Niyujya, he has appointed her to take care of the Parinashala, and he has gone for Pratikulamasyaha Daivam Shamayitum Prabhasa Pattanam Gataha. So we already know that she is Kulapatehe Uchvasita. She is as if the life breath of Kulapati, and when these Sakhis say, all in all, Tata Kashyapa would give him and make him Kritartha, that means he would give Shakuntala, you, to him. So they are teasing, they are mocking Shakuntala in a way. And Shakuntala, she loves to listen to such talks, but apparently, she is disapproving, and she says, Yuvam apetam, you go away from here, you talk whatever, जो मन में आता है वो बातें करते हो, जाओ यहाँ से, मैं नहीं बोलती. युवाम अपेतम किमपि हृदये कृत्वा मंत्रयेथे. You already have something in your mind and you are deliberately teasing me like this. Na yuvayoho vachanam shroshyami. I don't want to listen to you. Inwardly, she is very eager to listen to what they are saying, because all these things are very pleasing to her also. But outwardly, jao yahan se, main nahi baat karti. So, yuvam apetam na yuvayoho vachanam shroshyami. Now, this is all happening Janantika, okay? Now, what has happened is, Anasuya has asked the king 3 questions. Katamaha rajarshehe vanshaha, then kaha deshaha viraha paryutsukaha janaha kritaha, and kimartham atma ayasitaha. 3 questions. Who, where, and why. Now, in return, king has certain questions in his mind, and therefore he says, Vayamapi Tavad Bhavatyoho Sakhi Gatam Kimapi Prichamaha. Vayam Api. This api is very, very deliberately used. I also, Vayam is for himself, Vayam, because he is a king, Ami Kona Manona Kaya Pusata. He is a Prabhavavan Vyakti, and therefore he is addressing himself in plural. We also want to ask, we also. Why also? Because you already asked, your turn is over now, it's my turn. And what that I want to ask? Sakhi gatam, yuvayoho sakhi gatam, kimapi prichamaha. Kimapi. I want to ask you something about this Sakhi. Arya, anugraha iva iyam abhyarthana. This request that, shall I ask now? I want to ask. Should I go ahead? Shall I ask you? So, iyam abhyarthana, your request is a favor. I mean, we will be very happy to answer your question. Then Raja says, Bhagavan Kashyapaha Shashvate Brahmani Sthitaha iti Prakashaha. It is well known, Prakashaha, well known. What is well known? That Bhagavan Kashyapa, this Tata Kashyapa, Shashvate Brahmani Sthitaha, is always abiding in Shashvate Brahmani. Shashvata is eternal, perpetual, all the time. Okay? Shashvati Samaha, Ma Nishada Pratishtham Tvamagama, Shashvati Samaha, eternal. Okay? Brahmani Sthitaha. What is the meaning of Brahmani? Brahma means Veda, Brahma means Tattva, and Brahma means Tapa. It is heard and it is well known to all that Tata Kashyapa always abides in Vedadhyayana, number 1. Okay? He is always studying the Vedas, Veda. Then Tattva. Tattva is the highest knowledge, that Parat Tattva, Parabrahma Tattva. So he is a highly philosophical person by nature. And how is that this Shakuntala is his daughter, right? So, either he is engrossed in his Vedic studies, or in his Vedanta studies, or Tapa in the austerities. And this Tapa would give you the meaning of celibacy, Brahmacharya. So, when you read the translation of this, the translation will read as His Reverence Kashyapa observes perpetual celibacy. Shashvate Brahmani Sthitaha. All other translations also will be similarly like that. It is well known that the revered Kashyapa has observed eternal celibacy. Now celibacy, this meaning comes as the third meaning of Veda, of Brahma, Veda, Tattva and Tapa. So Tapa is Niyama, Tapa is regulations put on yourselves, that is the Brahmacharya. Then Iyam Chavaha Sakhi, and here is your friend, Tad Atmaja iti bhashitam kathametat. And here you say that this is your Sakhi who is his Atmaja. He has not used the word Kanya. Atmaja, Tanaya, he's born from his body. Atmaja or Tanaya, right? So how is it? He is observing eternal celibacy. On one hand, it is well known to all, and here is your Sakhi who is stated to be his daughter. How is it? Isn't it incongruent? How do I reconcile these two contrary statements? Okay. Now, while saying this, if you go back a little backwards, before I think the verse Asamshayam Kshatra Parigraha Kshamasa, there Raja remarks, Apinama Kulapatehe Iyam Asavarna Kshetra Sambhavasyat. Shakuntala is Kashyapa's daughter. For that, the king remarks here, will she be Apinama? Will she be Asavarna Kshetra Sambhava of Kulapati? Will she be born of the mother who is not a Brahmana? Kashyapa being a Brahmana, I had told you about this regarding the Pratiloma Vivaha when we discussed this verse some 2-3 Sundays back, perhaps 2 Sundays back, right? So, for a Brahmana to marry a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is okay. He can marry any woman from any other caste, his Varna as well as Kshatriya and Vaishya and Shudra. But for a Kshatriya to marry a Brahmana girl will be Pratiloma. So now when Shakuntala is his daughter, Kanava's daughter, would she be born of some Kshatriya lady or some Shudra lady? So that was what Dushyanta had remarked there. And now he says, Idam prakasham Bhagavan Kashyapaha Shashvate Brahmani Sthitaha iti prakashaha. Aren't these two sentences improper or incongruent? No commentator, no, not even Raghava Bhatta, they have not noticed this, and this is noticed by Gajendra Gadkar. Gajendra Gadkar has only noticed it. M.R. Kale has also missed this point. So Raja, in just 2-3 verses back, he says that she could be a daughter of a Savarna Kshetra Sambhava, and now he is saying he is perpetually in celibacy. These two are contradictory sentences. But now for Kalidasa, from the Kalidasa's point of view or from the Dushyanta's point of view, we can just justify it by saying that Dushyanta is so passionately in love with Shakuntala, he wants to ascertain Tattvanveshana, who is she? Vayam tu Tattvanveshat hataha tvam khalu madhukaraha kriti, he said. He wants to do the Tattvanveshana, and during that Tattvanveshana, that thing, that thought has slipped from his mind, and now he comes up with this, how could she be his daughter when he is known to be a celibate? Naishtika Brahmachari. How could Shakuntala be his daughter? Okay, so then Iyam Chavaha Sakhi Atmaja, and that too Tanaya, Atmaja, his own daughter. And then Anasuya says, it is again Anasuya saying, okay, she says, Shrunotu Aryaha, अस्ति कोपि कौशिकः इति गोत्रनामधेयः महाप्रभावः राजर्षिः. There is a great king as well as Rishi. Raja cha asau Rishishcha iti Rajarshihi. He is Kaushika. Kaushika Kushika Gotrotpannaha. He is sage Vishwamitra. He is Vishwamitra. Kaushika Gotrotpannaha. Kaushika iti Gotra Namadheyaha. Kaushika is the name of his Gotra. And there is a Mahaprabhava, very influential Rajarshi. It refers to Vishwamitra. Now this Kaushika Gotra comes from King Kusha. Then from Kusha it is Kushanabha. From Kushanabha it is Gadhi. And Gadhi's son is Vishwamitra. So this is how the lineage goes. And therefore Kaushika, Vishwamitra is called Kaushika Gotrotpannaha. And he is Rajarshihi, Rajacha, so Rishishcha. We know that he is a Kshatriya born, but because he has, like little bit rivalry or competency, a competition with Vasishtha, and therefore he also wants to become Brahmarshi, and therefore he has practiced for so many years austerities. And then he is the one, who wanted to send Trishanku to create another world, another Swargaloka, and send him there, Sadeha, and Indra didn't allow him, and Vishwamitra is pushing him from the earth, and Indra is pushing him from down, and Trishanku is hanging in the mid-air. Trishanku, by the way, is a star. It's a stellar composition, and Trishanku, maybe 3 corners are there. So that is another story. So Mahaprabhavaha Rajarshihi Shrunotu Aryaha, she says, Asti Shruyate, yes, I've heard of him. Tam Avayoho Priyasakhyaha Prabhavam Avagacha. Know him to be the originator, the generator, the father of our beloved Sakhi. Ujjitayaha Sharira Samvardhanadibhihi Tatakasyapah Asyaha Pita. She got abandoned, Ujjita. And then Sharira Samvardhanadibhihi, Sharira Samvardhana Adibhihi. And Tatakasyapa nurtured her body, fed her, and did all other things for this abandoned, forsaken child. And that is how Saha Asya Pita, Kashyapaha Asyaha Pita. And therefore, he is called as her father. That means she is not his Atmaja. She is not a Brahmana girl. What Dushyanta yearns to listen, yearns to hear is, she is not a Brahmana girl. Then he can marry her, right? His love for her gets justified, not otherwise. And therefore, Ujjitayaha Sharira Samvardhanadibhihi Tatakashyapaha Asyaha Pita. Now, one who gives birth is the father, one who gives prana is also father, and one who gives food is also father. So, there are 3 types of fathers. All these, not 3 types, all these 3 are called fathers. There may be a father who has really given birth. From his semen the child is born. He is the biological father of the child. Okay. Now one who saves the child from some calamities, he also is as good as father, and therefore he can also be called a father. And the third person who nourishes her, nurtures her, he is also called her father. And in the third sense, that Tatakashyapa is her father, she is a forsaken child, and the biological father is sage Vishwamitra, who is a Kshatriya. This becomes clear in the very first sentence. Okay? Ujjita Shabdena Janitam me Kautuhalam. Now you say Ujjita. Oh, she was abandoned. My curiosity is increasing. How come? Why? How? When? Where? All these questions, surround this. Ujjita Shabdena Janitam me Kautuhalam Amulat Shrotumichami. I want to listen, everything, all the details. The more the girls are seated around him, he enjoys their company. He enjoys looking at Shakuntala every now and then. So, Amula Shrotumichami, Shrunotu Aryaha, Purakila. Purakila. This refers to a very ancient story. Okay? Ancient story. Purakila, Tasya Rajarshehe, that Rajarshi, that is Vishwamitra, Ugre Tapasi Vartamanasya. While he was in the very severe austerities, severe penance, Kimapi Jata Shankaihi Devaihi. The Devas got some Shanka. You know, they doubted something. They were apprehensive of something, kimapi, something. And then, Menaka Nam Apsaraha Preshita Niyama Vigna Karini. They sent, or by the Devas, by the gods, who were afraid. Jata Shankaihi. What is the purpose of the austerity of this sage? So, whenever a sage practices severe austerity, it is as if to shake the throne of Indra, the Devendra, and Devendra gets worried, he gets afraid, and then he sends some apsara for the tapobhanga of the sage. And therefore, Menaka Nama Apsara Niyama Vigna Karini Preshita. Karini. What Karini? Vigna Karini. To create an obstacle. Vigna Karini. In what? Niyama. In the vrata, in the austerity, in the celibacy. Whatever penance they are following, they are observing, to divert their mind, to distract their mind and create an obstacle and stop them from doing the penance further. Gods always sent some apsara for the niyama bhanga, for the tapo bhanga. And this is how niyama vigna karini menaka nama apsara devaihi preshita. Asti etad anya samadhi bhirutvam devanam. The king knows, yeah, devanam bhirutvam. There is this fear in the minds of the gods. Devanam bhirutvam asti. It is there. Regarding what? Anya samadhi. When others are in samadhi, when other people are engrossed and immersed in their samadhi, they was always apprehend, they suspect that this samadhi, this penance, this austerity is to surpass them and get all the glories or deprive the gods from their glories. And therefore the gods, in order not to make it happen, they create vigna. They don't create vigna themselves, they send an apsara to create an obstacle in the tapas. Okay? And asti etad anya samadhi bhirutvam devanam. Now apsara, we can have some more, what you can say, explanation on the word apsara. Apsu saranti iti apsaraha. Those who roam around, wander, stroll in the waters are apsara. They are born from the waters, therefore also they are apsara. In Marathi they are called asara, sati asara, you know, and therefore all the water bodies are either what you can say haunted by either apsaras or yakshas. Remember the yaksha prashna story in the Mahabharata, right? How Dharmaraja sends all his brothers to bring a cup of water, and there is yaksha asks questions, nobody listens, and they are all dead. And then Yudhishthira goes, Dharmaraja goes, and he pleases the yaksha who asks him so many questions. It's a famous story in the Mahabharata, and the yaksha prashnas are very, very famous. So normally such unknown water bodies, and therefore people are advised not to take bath, not to take a dip in the water bodies which are not familiar to you, because they may be haunted by some such spirits, either apsara or yaksha. So Apsara is that Apsara. Now, according to some, this is one view that Apsaras are born from water. From the Ksheerasagara Manthana, Apsaras were also born as the Chaturdasha Ratna, and all these Ratnas were taken by the gods. Okay, that story we know. According to other account, all Apsaras are the daughters of a woman called Arishta. She is the wife of sage Kashyapa. In fact, the entire creation, the Vividha Srushti, Visrushti, is by Kashyapa. Kashyapa is the head of all the families, be it the Daityas. Diti was his wife, from whom all Daityas were born. He had a wife called Danu, and all the Danavas are born from her. He had a wife called Aditi, and all the Adityas and the gods are born from her. He had a wife called Vinata, and Vainateya, Garuda and Aruna are born from that. He had a wife called Kadru, and all the Sarpas are born from Kadru. Like that, he had a wife called Arishta, and from her all the Apsaras were born. So Apsaras Sambhava, Apsaras Sambhava is mythology. There are so many narratives regarding that. Menaka is one of the main Apsaras. Menaka, Rambha, Urvashi, Tilottama. These are the very famous Apsaras. We have the famous Apsara Urvashi, who tried to enchant, and Pururava got captivated by her beauty. And we have the whole, in the Rigveda we have Pururava Urvashi Samvada Sukta. Then in the Shatapatha Brahmana the story comes, and then Kalidasa, our own Kalidasa, has written a beautiful drama called Vikramorvashiyam, based on a mortal man marrying an immortal celestial woman. So here also it is Rajarshi Vishwamitra marrying a celestial woman, not marrying, just falling for her beauty, and from their sambandha, their physical intimacy, Shakuntala was born, and Shakuntala was abandoned, and Tata Kashyapa saw her being fostered by Shakuntas, by the Pakshi, and therefore Shakuntaihi Lata iti Shakuntala. He named her as Shakuntala, brought her to his ashrama and reared her up and nurtured her up. So this is the story of that. One very important thing here, in the original Mahabharata, which happens to be the source of Abhijnana Sakuntala, it is Shakuntala herself telling her birth story to Dushyanta. And here, for Shakuntala to tell her own account, how I was abandoned and how my father fell in love for my mother who was Apsara. This is so very embarrassing, cumbersome. So Kalidasa has avoided that embarrassment, and he has put the whole account in the mouth of Anasuya, the elderly and the most matured Sakhi of Shakuntala. So this is also a very, important deviation from the original Mahabharata. So how Kalidasa has brought in his own ingenuity and his own pratibha in every minute detail. So that is very, very commendable, and that we should take note of while reading. Otherwise, there are hundreds of books giving you the meaning and the word-to-word translation. So why am I here? As far as possible, we can do the comparative study and, have a different cross-check it with different references in the other text also, so that becomes more enlightening and inspiring for us. Okay, we see you next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.